All right, everybody, welcome to the Purple Friday podcast. As you all know, the Ravens' Final 53 is official. I think they still have a few, as of we're talking right now, this is Wednesday, but they have a few spots left, I guess, to 3 spots left to pick. But before we get started, guys, how was the week? We're coming up on a long weekend, Labor Day coming up. You guys got any plans or anything?
So it's a quick week for me. Going to DR tomorrow,
Oh man, nice.
early in the
There we
morning.
go. There we go.
So the week is over. Today's my Friday, pretty much, and yeah, I've been cramming a whole lot of Ravens information in the meantime. Like a whole lot has changed since the last time we spoke. So looking forward to getting into it.
Man, who travels more than Trey? Like Trey is actually out here living the life I
I
want
know.
to
Every
live.
time I look at his Instagram story, he's somewhere on a boat.
It's just
DR,
Somewhere.
Mexico, Cancun.
Wherever he's going, it's all white. It's usually an all white party somewhere. Where he's
Yeah.
got all white on.
it's a year of first. I'll say that.
Trey, you been at the Rock Nation brunch? Is that where you be
So he
going?
ain't trying to tell. He went to that Hamptons party. Didn't tell nobody. That's what happened.
Right.
No, but that's a good idea though. I'm gonna try to make that Rock Nation brunch next year.
Yeah, let me know how it is.
Yeah, right before the Grammys, right? It's during the Grammys. Is that when the weekend?
Yep.
Right,
Yeah,
that weekend.
They
Just
let
roll
me-
up. Like I think was Farnsworth Bentley said, like a lot of times that he would just roll in. He would just walk into places, could act like he belonged there, and they no one would say anything. So
Well, that'll be the only way they let me in.
just
'Cause-
act like you belong there. Take some pics. Let us know. So
yeah, man.
before we get into the Ravens Final 53, the guys this week we went through some sports documentaries, and we're kind of going to cover those before we get into other NFL news. So first, we'll start off with BS High, or for Bishop Sycamore. For those that remember last year, this was the infamous, I'll put in quotations, high school that played IMG Academy. For those who don't know, IMG Academy is one of probably the top football program, high school football programs in the country. It's basically a de facto football power, like warehouse. Like they produce some of the best football talent in high school football. The guys go on to college and play in the SEC and the Big Ten and ACC. It's kind of like Overtime Elite is for basketball. IMG Academy is for football. They have classes at IMG Academy. They do some schoolwork, but it's geared towards producing professional football talent. Like that's basically what they do. I mean, look, as Ravens fans, we got two of them on the team right now. We got Adafe Owe and David Ajabo, both IMG Academy alum. So, but the Bishop Sycamore doc, I think, featured a man named Roy Johnson. If that's his real name, I don't know. Based on watching that documentary, he basically started off saying, "Look, if there's one thing I can tell you for the truth, I am a liar. I lie."
Led with that.
And Trey, I'll let you get your points off first before I delve into it. What was your takeaways from this documentary?
My mind was kind of blown. Like I'm not even gonna hold you. Like it was probably one of the most ridiculous. Documentary was good, but it was just it started off like, nah, it's not this. Like it can't be like what he's saying. Like he's trolling, right? It turned into like you learn very early in the doc that this guy is like almost pretty much a sociopath. Like he's super arrogant, super full of himself. Like I say, he's a sociopath, and at some points it seemed like he believed what he was saying, but what he was saying was like absolutely ridiculous. But my overall takeaway was that Homeboy was just doing some evil stuff. Like it was just probably the most evil thing. It started off like, wow, he's just the biggest scammer in the world, but then you realize to the extent of what he went, it's like this is crazy. Because I remember watching this game live when it came on, and the scam was kind of like unraveling itself on live TV. Like the announcers were actually kind of pointing things out that weren't right, and players were getting injured, and it just didn't look right. It looked completely opposite of the team that they were playing against. and not just because of the talent. It was just the sidelines, the coaches, all of it was crazy. I think the sickest part that about the doc is that it just showed how he kind of squandered all of these opportunities away from these young black men, and to the point where it got to the point where like they didn't really have a second chance almost. So some of them had a second chance or thought they had a second chance, and then when they capitalized on that chance, the past came back to bite them in the butt because of the illegal situation that they were pretty much brought up in with this team. They had the one guy that got a full scholarship or a partial scholarship to I think Grambling or something like that, and he accepted and everything, and then they called him and told him, once they found out about the whole situation, they had to pretty much renege a scholarship. So that was crazy. By far the craziest part to me was, I mean, because the scamming, it is what it is. Like, you go into hotels, you giving fake checks and all of that stuff. Like, it is what it is. Like, he's clearly he's a scam artist, and he's been getting by, and people have been letting him get by. But the biggest part was scamming the kids. The part where, and this part almost kind of broke my heart a little bit, because the fact that he had these kids taking out PPP loans in their names and ruining their credit. And it's not even like, we all, went to school, and then, you have they just kind of throw all these college loans and you sign off.
Right.
We know what we're getting ourselves into. He was actually manipulating these kids and actually tricking them into signing documentation, not knowing what it was. And that was the sick part about it. He was taking advantage of these underprivileged kids in these specific targeted communities, and they were signing their lives away pretty much. And all of these loans were getting taken out, and they were making them pay for all kinds of stuff. And it wasn't even really for the betterment of the program the whole time. It was really just for him. So that was pretty much my main takeaway. It was probably just the most selfish person I've ever even seen. Like, it was just mind-boggling how you would think a sane person, if they got caught up in something like that, they wouldn't show their face on a documentary like this. This man was front and center, the star. He was glad to be there. He's actually thinking in his head, he's about to get more notoriety. He's about to try this again, but 2 times bigger. Like, something's really wrong with dude, and he definitely belongs under the jail. Like, it was a very sick doc to watch, but yeah, I just pretty much watched with my jaw was like dropped to the floor damn near the whole doc, especially the second half. It just got way, way too real. And anytime there's a storyline like that and it's affecting us, and at that age, it's just super sad. So it was just a crazy documentary. I think y'all should all check it out if you haven't seen it, because it's just one of them things where it's like you just can't believe your eyes. Like, the fact that the scamming got so good they even scammed ESPN, just phenomenal. So yeah, that's pretty much my takeaway, man. Sick stuff.
Yeah, ESPN obviously declined to be interviewed by the doc team because they obviously had to answer some questions. Like, they hadn't, this Bishop Sycamore team hadn't won a football game. They were like 1-18 or something like that. Like, they hadn't won a football game even in their own state. And they were like, how the hell did you guys get a game with IMG? Because they said, teams are, I don't know the behind the scenes stuff, but it sounds like to me that people have to pay to play IMG Academy because they're the most, this is like the team in high school football. It sounds like a lot of these teams from Texas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, California, whatever, Texas, have to pay probably a fee to play IMG Academy. They didn't discuss that obviously behind the scenes. I think IMG Academy was also asked to be interviewed, and they didn't take part in the documentary as well. But it sounds like people pay money to IMG Academy to play them, like the same thing you have in college football, where the Clemsons, the Alabamas, the Georgias, or whatever will go play these Division I AA schools, and they write them a $2 million check for playing them beginning of the season. Like, I mean, I think Howard's coach has said it before. Grambling State's coach has said it. Like, we know we play these games because it gives us money towards our program. We know what it is. We know we're going to get blown out by 50 points. But it is what it is. That's the game we play. The other part about the doc was that It was sad that the teen moms that did come out and do the documentary talked about watching this happen in real time with their sons. Who potentially look a lot of these sadly black kids in these situations. This is a lot of times their only way out is football, basketball. And they were, didn't get any scholarships. They didn't really get any chances to go to that next level. Maybe outside of maybe doing a JUCO stuff. And here comes a guy that's like, oh yeah, we're going to be able to. I guarantee you, when they were getting the DM, like they showed the Twitter feed of him re-DMing all these kids, saying, "Hey, DM us," and convincing them once he's like, "Hey, we're going to play IMG Academy." I guarantee you, when he said that to them, we're playing IMG Academy this year. They didn't care where it was. They were like, if we get a chance to go play IMG and beat IMG Academy, that's going to elevate all of us. All of a sudden, like, oh man, that cornerback right there is a 5-star recruit and is going to Georgia. That wide receiver has been tearing them up all game. We got to go sign that kid. Like everybody knew, like if they played IMG, if they played well, they were going to jump off the screen. But they got into that game. They said the coach didn't even have regular practices. They can't even remember doing any kind of drills or anything. All the plays they got from Madden. For anybody that watched the Comebacks movie, the little spoof they made about all the high school football, and the guy's like, I don't understand it, man. He knows all my plays, and he shows him like it turned the Xbox game off. I'm like, this was happening in real life. This was happening in real life. Like, and then they had to. What also got me, this guy comes on as the matchmaker. I don't know what his actual name is. Comes on as the matchmaker. His professional job is to get these high school travel football teams to match up with one another during the season. There's a guy that makes a living off of this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a man that makes he comes on, he's got the gold rings on his fingers, he's got the nice suit, and I mean, he's like got the gold watch on. I'm like, he looks like the guy you saw in the 90s college football movies. The blue chips. Remember blue chips?
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy you saw in blue chips, the sleeves. Like that's the guy behind the scenes that has got all the money, making all the dealings behind the scenes with these college basketball and football programs. But it's happening in high school. Another thing that got me about the doc too was, the guy used his mom or his grandmom, his late foundation,
his late
mother's foundation that was supposed to be used to help kids get into like better, college programs or whatever like that, to use money for scholarships like most churches do. They set up scholarships and foundations so they can help kids pay for their college tuition. Use that foundation to write bad checks to pay for stuff. And the mom's like, when she said, I picked him up or whatever, I need to go to Kinko's. She's like, okay. And he's like, printing checks at Kinko's. And she's like, what? You're printing? It's fine. It's got our account numbers on it and everything. Like, no, that you can't do that. And he's sitting here talking about when they went to the hotels, they were like, oh, we're putting you on a 90-day pay plan. He's like, great, because I don't have to pay. I'll never pay. By the time we leave, you'll never see me again. The bad part about it was he made all these kids. Now, some of them weren't kids. Some of them weren't kids. Some of them were 21 and older on this team. But he also made them sign these apartment contracts with this hotel. So, as for all of you that know who've had apartments before, know people that have had apartments, if you get evicted from said apartment, that goes in your record, your credit record. When you get an eviction notice on your credit record and stuff, it's almost impossible to get any kind of housing after that. It's almost impossible. And so from 18 to already have a bad housing record on your record, these people have to live at home, live with their parents for who knows how long, may never be able to. Hope now that the story's out, hopefully they get that remedied. You saw now with this guy, he's got 30 lawsuits from several contractors for not paying what he was supposed to pay. The guys that were supposed to be the videographers for the team He came out and said, "Oh, these are my friends. I don't have to owe them any money." And they were like, "We're not friends. What the hell is this?" He hired us for a job, and we were going to do it. We're not his friends. Like he made you believe throughout this whole thing that what he was doing was God's work. It made you believe like he was doing God's work. And initial guy that he was working with the church, Christian, was it COF or COH, something like that. Academy was the initial. He's done this before. And then he comes at the end of the doc like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do it again. We're going to come back next season we're going to be on the schedule." Like, this guy's going to keep doing it. But the bad part about it was, I'm glad Bomani Jones was on it because it kind of gave a lot of insight to other areas of the high school athletics in general as a whole. And he made it he's like, one thing we're so focused on this guy, right? That he's obviously the anomaly of all this because of the fraud and stuff. But the high school sports system has become so money driven now that Bishop Sycamore obviously was the outlier. But he's like, let's not forget about the other academies that are doing this legitimately, but are still doing the same thing. Like, they're signing these kids, they're playing football, playing baseball, basketball, whatever. Like I mentioned, Overtime Elite in Atlanta just got 2 of their graduates to go in the top 5 at the NBA draft.
Yeah.
But now I will say, Overtime Elite at least pays their high school athletes. I think they have a kid there now that's making $650,000 on the roster. $650K.
That's crazy.
At least they're paying, but they're the only ones I know that pay. There are a lot of other ones like IMG Academy that do not pay. They're a private entity. And they mentioned at the end of the doc, a private equity firm, or one of the biggest private equity firms out there, bought IMG Academy for $1.2 billion. A high school football academy worth $1.2 billion.
And the Commanders just sold for what?
Like, was it 7
billion or something like that?
You're telling me a high school football program that's worth more than than college football programs are combined. Like, if you want to talk like 1AA football, like IMG Academy is worth more than several. I'll say HBCUs. Let's be real. They're worth more than several of these HBCU football programs combined. A high school football program. And I think Bomani Jones made a point of addressing that. Like, he is obviously the con man, doesn't have any money, but there are people out there with the resources and money that are creating these academies, and it's not going to stop with him. They're going to, like he said, there are going to be more Bishop Sycamores. People trying to, all this guy wanted to do was, if he, in his warped mind was, if I beat IMG Academy, that's going to, everything I've done up to this point is done. Everything I've done fraudulent wise, whatever, is all done. It's all gone. I'm getting sponsorship money. I'm getting TV deals. I'm getting all the best kids coming to my school, blah, blah, blah. In his warped mind, this was his get rich scheme.
Yeah.
But like they were saying, there's no rules against not creating a fake high school. The only thing that has a criminal that has any allegations right now is not paying the contractors. It wasn't defrauding the 18-year-olds. It wasn't creating a fake high school. It wasn't these kids enrolling in a fake program, making them believe that they're going to get credits that will apply to them now, potentially going to another college. Like you said, with the quarterback that was supposed to go to Grambling, it wasn't a real high school. None of that he's being charged for. He's being charged for not paying his contractors and the hotels. Everything else, whatever. The fact that he defrauded, I don't know how many of these kids, which is why they're in court right now. If there were systems set up, there would immediately been a payout for these kids or some kind of retribution or justice for these kids being defrauded. But they have to go to court in a class action lawsuit against this man to try to get something back and clear their names. Because as of right now, a lot of them, like I said, can't get apartment or any kind of long-term stay anywhere because of their eviction notices. They're stuck.
Yep.
They had a guy break down on camera during this doc. You gotta the mindset you gotta be in for people that are at their last straw, right? They've been building up to this for their entire lives, and we've seen there are a lot of stories. Like there's plenty of great stories about guys that go D1 and maybe not make it and get undrafted, and they go make it to the pros and all that good stuff. But there's a lot more stories of like guys we saw in that doc where they don't make it to college. Something happens. They don't make it to those schools, and they don't know what to do. And the fact that he was preying on these guys, knowing that and seeing it in their eyes, like these guys thinking they're going to use this to catapult themselves to a Grambling, to a Georgia, to a LSU, to a Jackson State University, Florida A&M, whatever the D1 school, and then coming out not only in debt, now you got a bad record on your sheet, whatever like that. You didn't. Now none of you completed high school, apparently. So now you got to go back and get your GED. And
you're over 18.
And you're over 18. And the other bad part about it was when they said when they started the documentary, like we're gonna be holed up here in this warehouse. I'm assuming this guy's on the run. Like he's not holed up anywhere. I'm like, this guy's not, and he's not didn't do it in his house. They did it in some undisclosed warehouse or tanker, whatever like that. One of those ship cargo things. That's where they did the documentary because I'm assuming this man's on the run.
Yeah, it was.
He's got to be. It was real. Like during the same thing, Trey. Like as I was watching towards the end, I was tearing up towards the end. I was like, this is just sad. Like you could be this evil to defraud your own people like this, black kids. To defraud black kids like this, knowing that for a lot of these guys, this was in their mind, like this was the only way out. Football. All they've known is football. And it seems to like some working at a meat packing place, or some don't have a job yet. And some are still tracing their football dreams. Wasted a year with this man. Wasted a year and got embarrassed
with no
on
remorse.
national TV for this.
With no remorse. And they asked him if you could do this all over again, would you is there anything you would change or would you do it again? He said, I'd do it exactly the way I did it all over again.
He was the black Donald Trump. As I was watching, this man was the black Donald Trump. This is exactly what Donald Trump is known for. Not paying his contractors, putting out in court and litigation so that he doesn't have to pay anything, just staying on the run, just doing whatever he wants to do. Like I said, he was the anomaly, but they brought up a good point. It's like money now in high school athletics has gotten a little out of control. Like, I don't know if you guys saw this recently, but they now football programs are now going to be allowed to release injury reports before games now. They've never done that before. They've never ever done that. They've obviously gotten pressure from the people and whoever the gambling families are or the heads are, whatever like that in Vegas. I basically said like there's enough money on these college football reports that we need to know who's playing and who's not. So they're going to be putting out reports like how they're professional football teams.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Who's questionable and who's not? Because remember, I think it was last season when Oklahoma benched their I can't remember the guy's name now. They benched their star quarterback in the favor of the freshman. I can't remember who it was. But you didn't know until the game started. You had no idea until the game started. Not anymore. It's going to be like professional football now. They're going to be releasing injury reports the day before, a couple hours before the game starts so people can place their bets. As soon as I saw that, I was like, this is gambling related. I know this is gambling related. So you know who to put your money on.
Yeah.
So look, for all you that listen to this and you have kids that are playing pee-wee football or playing high school football, be mindful. Please be mindful. Do your research on some of these programs, especially these up-and-coming programs. If they've been established and been around for a while, they may be pretty reputable. If they're new up-and-coming, we just started a year ago, be a little worried about some of these programs. They may be just trying to be cashing. They may be like getting as much money as they can this year and then moving on to somewhere else, doing the same snake oil salesman stuff. But yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. Touch on the Johnny Manziel documentary. That was obviously the Untold documentary series. for the most part, it wasn't anything that we didn't know about Johnny Manziel. But I thought it was very interesting. It came off to me the way Johnny was talking that um, he liked football, but he didn't love football. You know what I'm saying? Like he liked playing football. He loved the attention that it brought him and the fame and everything else. Like he was decent at it. He was good at it. But he didn't do the extra work, And I remember watching him play at Texas A&M, and he was kind of his play was letting the play break down, scrambling around for a little bit, either then running for 30 yards or then throwing it to the wide open guy. Like he didn't really care about throwing it to the spot or where a guy finished his route. He'd wait for the play to break down, and guys would just run around, and that's how he could make his plays. And it showed off the field antics and stuff, getting drunk, spending thousands of dollars here and there. I thought was interesting was the one that went around, the story that went around that he came from oil money. While his dad did have money, it wasn't like oil money. Apparently, his grandpa had oil money, but didn't leave any of it to his kids. Probably another story. Probably a whole nother story. Didn't leave any of it to his kids, really. So his dad still had to make his own. He still, was well to do, but not as well to do as everybody makes it out to be. But it just goes to show what a few plays in college will do for your draft stock. When we had guys like Skip Bayless come out and say Johnny Manziel is going to do more for the state of Ohio than LeBron ever did. I remember that. I remember that he stated that he was like, when Johnny Manziel got drafted to Cleveland Browns, that he was going to do more for Cleveland than LeBron ever did. I was like, okay.
Insanity.
He's a master marketer. That's what he is.
Yeah. And they talked about obviously the infamous when he got I think it was what it did touch on. What I think they did touch on. I did like was when he got busted for him and his friend basically off to the side were signing football memorabilia, his jerseys, helmets, all that kind of stuff, and basically made a lot of money off of it. Like his friend was talking about, we made a lot of money off of this. NCAA got wind of it and obviously suspended him for, was it a half or something like that against Troy University? I think it was some small school.
Yeah.
That obviously led to it talked about, but he brought up, at Texas A&M, he brought up how many millions of dollars Texas A&M made off of Johnny Manziel mania. The games that Texas A&M were able to be featured on College Game Day, ESPN and Fox Sports and ABC and all this other, they got primetime football games. The money they made off of Johnny Manziel, and he was like, while my parents were well to do, he's like, I didn't see that money. I had to go get that outside because they weren't giving me that money. So that while I didn't feel sorry for Johnny Manziel because he did bring a lot of it on himself, I did feel a little bit sorry for him in that point because he's not the only one. We've seen several of these great college athletes put these programs on their backs and not make any kind of money on it. We saw with the Fab Five documentary. Chris Webber said when I think he was getting ready to go into his junior season at Michigan, and he walked into a store that had his jersey in the store selling for $350. He was like, at that moment, he was like, nah, I'm not coming back. I'm going pro. There's no way this school's going to make any more money off of me and Jalen Rose and all the rest of those guys and Juwan Howard. I'm not doing no. So I did like that part they touched on with even with guys like Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow and all the rest of those guys, and it will continue. That they will, especially the ones that grab your attention, the stars that grab your attention. Caleb Williams, I'm pretty sure is going to do it at USC this year. They're already talking about him. He put the football off the ground and then flicked it down 50 yards down the field like it was nothing. So you already know this season's going to be full of Caleb Williams clips and stuff like that for USC. Mm-hmm. So I did like that part of the documentary was, he was very honest. He was like, look, I got into drugs and alcohol and I had some vices and stuff. And even now he's like, he's not really involved in football. He's just kind of living off. I think he's living with his dad or something like that right now, kind of just before he gets back into some football of some sort. But as of right now, I think he said the football fame and the football limelight as a whole was kind of a drug in its own. That led to a lot of the other vices and stuff that the fame you're getting as an 18, 19-year-old in college, especially at a school that's not really that was known for football back in the day, but not in the more recent history. Like Texas A&M hasn't really had a lot of dominant football products come out. So him being at Texas A&M, I feel like if he was at Texas, it wouldn't have been as big because it's Texas football. But at Texas A&M, they had a lot of big hoopla. So him being there, big man on campus, you bring a lot of demons out. Like if you deal with a lot of addictions and things like that. So at least he was candid about that. But.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Like the one thing I've heard, I haven't seen the doc yet, but the one thing I've heard is that the consensus on social media after watching this doc is give Reggie Bush his Heisman Trophy back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard time and time again. And, I'll check out the doc and kind of, look at all the stuff that you talk about. But if Johnny Manziel got to keep his Heisman Trophy with everything that was evidence, when are they going to move on Reggie Bush? Like, he needs to be exonerated on all things because, let's be honest, he got taken advantage of. And he didn't have like a crazy off the field story. It was basically the money.
It was recruiting,
right?
It was recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you said about, I'm glad Reggie Bush is actually suing the NCAA now. Like he actually has a lawsuit against the NCAA.
Nice.
That happened like a few days ago. Like he actually finally got a lawsuit together to reinstate him as a Heisman Trophy winner, give him his Heisman Trophy back. To absolve him all those issues because, as we all know, Pete Carroll just ran away so conveniently when all that stuff was going down. Oh, I'm going to take this job in Seattle. Peace. Like after all that stuff went down, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna leave, man. Reggie Bush was the one to take the brunt of it. I don't even think the school got any ramifications from that. Like nothing happened except to Reggie Bush.
Yeah,
that's the only one that anything happened to was Reggie Bush.
I'm glad he did file that. I remember.
Yeah, so he filed a lawsuit. So we'll see where that goes. And they were talking about obviously the Swamp Kings doc. I haven't watched it yet, but from what I'm hearing across everywhere, because Urban Meyer was featured in the documentary, they were saying what the BS doc is what Swamp King should have been for the Untold series. They said all the stories for Untold have been really good up to this point. They said even Johnny Manziel was a little softballish. They were like, this Swamp Kings one was really softballish. Like they didn't touch on the fact that they said 40 of these Florida Gators players have been arrested while they were playing and a little bit after they were playing. Like there's a lot of stuff that went on at this Florida program. I don't know if you guys watched the U documentary they did, the part 1 and part 2. They touched on more stuff in that U documentary than they did in this Swamp Kings one. The way that the people who know about that Florida program and Tim Tebow was there, like they were getting wild stuff apparently.
Yeah,
they were involved in some wild stuff, and apparently this documentary just kind of came off as Urban Meyer's reclamation project after all the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because they said at the end of the documentary. Urban Meyer was decided to leave the Jaguars football team. I'm like, you were fired.
Yeah.
Because you were kicking people. Okay. Like you were actually kicking people. Like he was a terrible head coach. And it sounds like, and we saw the stuff he did. Look, apparently not allegedly, it was on camera. Him getting a lap dance from a 20-year-old or 19-year-old woman at his bar in Ohio. That he has in Ohio. We've heard some stories about Urban Meyer and in this football program in Florida, and they apparently didn't touch on any of that stuff. They just talked about how great the football team was, and they were national champions, and Tim Tebow was the ultimate Christian, And they were saying like I think it was Tim Tebow was a good mask for what everything was going on in Florida, because Tim Tebow was so straight laced that it kind of created a barrier to everything else that was going on. I'm inclined to believe that Urban Meyer probably had strippers Probably when they won games in the locker rooms. Tim Tebow probably excused himself. He probably excused himself. But I'm pretty sure the rest of those dudes, they got down. I wouldn't put it past Urban Meyer to do some stuff like that. There's some look. College football is dirty business. There's a lot of dirty business in college football. People don't really understand. Like for those who watch, like He Got Game, you remember He Got Game.
Yeah,
I remember. You remember he did the recruitment process at Big State or the university, whatever it was called, and he went to the dorms and stuff, and he had himself a little fun time.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's that kind of stuff that goes down. These recruiting trips at these big colleges, the booster club, as they call them.
Mm-hmm.
College football, that dirty business.
The thing. It's definitely
dirty. But all right, let's move on to some NFL news real quick. So we all saw the Jonathan Taylor fiasco play out. He is on the team after the Colts has said, after Jim Irsay said, we don't care about, we don't really value running backs, and we don't care, whatever, he can look whatever he wants. Then they come out and say we want a first-round pick for Jonathan Taylor. He's allowed to go out and find a trade partner if he wants one. Apparently there were teams that were interested, but I guarantee you none of them were willing to give a first-round pick for Jonathan Taylor. So now he is starting on the PUP list. I think he's going to miss the first 4 games. If I'm Taylor, I don't know if he plays. To be quite honest with you, with all this stuff going on, I wouldn't play. For what?
Yeah.
For what? I mean, if you're not going to pay me, you're not going to give me a contract next season. You already made it very clear you're not giving me a contract next season. Why would I go out there and potentially risk myself an injury? I'm not risking tens of millions of dollars. Like at this point, I'm turning all my Colts gear. I'm going home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going home. I'm not showing up.
Yeah.
Period. I'm just not. I'm not coming there. I'll be a free agent next year. And I mean, I think they said they have a 5th-year option on him, and they can guarantee you. Like, if I'm Jonathan Taylor, I'm looking. If this is the end of my football career, if this is the end because other teams may not want to touch me, I'm like, you're not going to trade me. Obviously, you're clearly not going to trade me.
Yeah.
So I'm not playing. Period. You get good. Kick rocks. I'll go find something else to do.
Yeah.
I'll start a podcast. Everybody else doing. I'll start a podcast. Every other player doing it, right? If I'm him, I'm doing like in a wrestling term, they call it pipe bomb. When wrestlers start telling the real truth behind the scenes, stuff going on in like the locker room and stuff like that, like not the fake story stuff, but the real stuff going on behind the scenes. If I'm Jonathan Taylor, I'm starting a podcast. Guarantee everybody watching it because he's like, I'm telling everybody, I'm telling all the business, all the business. What y'all want? I'm telling all Colts business right now. They can't do nothing. What are they gonna do? Shut me down? They gonna silence me?
Just like Jeff Teague.
Jeff Teague's podcast.
Jeff Teague giving it up, boy.
Yo,
just telling you, he's been giving it up.
The Hawks, the G, like no. I'll say this. I'll say that before we, I give you guys takes on the Taylor thing. I love these player podcasts though.
Yeah,
I love it because it's giving us an inside stuff. Like, look at we give the teams in the front offices all this mystique and this like shrouded in mystery about what the dealings that happen behind the scenes and all this other stuff. And you find out that they're just average people.
Yeah,
they got feelings. Like the fact that he walked in and told Jeff Teague, "I don't like your height. I just don't like you." Meanwhile, he signed him he's like, okay, and then he told him before he got traded, "I don't like how tall you are. I don't like your ball, like your balls." And then found out, oh yeah, we didn't trade you. Good, we'll see you in Atlanta next week. I'm like, what?
That's
oh man, but the stuff like that happens in sports. Like we don't hear that stuff all the time. And then I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
But what do you guys take on this? Jonathan Taylor staying with the Colts this season. He's on the PUP list for 4 weeks. Is he even going to play? Is he even going to play this year? Like,
it's going pretty much how I thought it was going to go. I mean, I said last week that when it first came, I think when we did the pod last week, I think it just came out that they were going to allow him to trade. They were going to allow him to seek out a trade or whatever. And then when we found out, and that's exactly what I said. I said they're going to ask for something ridiculous. It's not going to be tradable, and it's really just going to be a slap in the face to humble him up, to show him how much he's worth. and it's going to be ongoing. And that's exactly what happened. They offered a first, got a whole bunch of teams interested, a whole bunch of teams wasted their time, and because nobody's giving up a one for a running back, even Jonathan Taylor. And if they did, I mean, I would be surprised if they did. But like I said, it's more so just Jim Irsay just slap in the face. He's just trying to humble that man. Like he now, he had to come back after nobody took that deal. Not that even if somebody offered him that, he would even entertain it. Because who knows? He may not have had he may not have had any intentions on trading him from the beginning. And the one is just something he threw out there because he knew it wasn't really attainable. So yeah, it just sucks what's happening to these running backs. This situation is a lot more messier than other running back situations, just because how it was going about. And yeah, I'd be interested to see what he does. I mean, probably going to start off like you said, Miles, on injured reserve. I think he has to a certain week before his contracts, has to get paid out or whatever the situation is. Like you said, he has a 5th-year option or something that they can still capitalize on. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Man, Jonathan Taylor better stand his ground, because if he doesn't do it, there are no more legs to stand on. Like for running backs, like how this goes is going to determine how it's going to go in the future for running backs. Like if he holds out and he's the what's the word I'm looking for, the martyr for this, like it's gonna open up a whole new wave with collective bargaining. But the only thing that doesn't surprise me about this whole situation, well, the one thing that surprises me about this whole situation are the offers that the Colts are sending people. They asked Miami for Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle, who's a definite number one receiver anywhere except Miami. Like this is insane. They wanted a 1st-round pick. They want Jalen Waddle. So I wonder what they asked the Ravens. They probably asked the Ravens for Lamar or
right.
Andrews, Ronnie Stanley,
or Zay Flowers. We want Zay Flowers for Jonathan Taylor. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we want Patrick, Queen, and Marlon as a package. It's just insane. So they went into these trade negotiations like not honestly and not truly trying to trade him. They just wanted to make something outrageous, like Trey said, so they can go back to Jonathan Taylor and be like, hey, nobody wants you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely a unfortunate situation, but
yeah.
We'll see what happens. My man froze up.
He's smiling though. Look at him.
Hey man, they got you on a good freeze frame. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. Hey, let's I guess we jump into another topic. What else we got on here?
What else on my
Trey Lance to the Cowboys?
Wow, did not see that coming. did not see that coming. Well, I seen him losing the backup QB job. I really didn't see coming. When he became the 3rd string, I thought his value was diminished at that point, to be honest. Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, you didn't get the 2nd string QB job. That's a red flag. Number one. And number 2, the fact that they were still able to get something. But they get a 4th or a 5th?
I think they got a 4th
round pick. I mean, that's something, even though I feel like they could have got more had they traded him before, they announced that he didn't get the 2nd string quarterback job. I feel like that was kind of bad business on their part. Like, don't announce that he didn't win the 2nd QB job and then trade him, unless they only did that because they know they were trading him. Then I guess that's a different story. But yeah, to the Cowboys, that's interesting. We were talking earlier about Cooper Rush and how he looked. Like Cooper Rush has looked pretty damn good. So I mean, are you trading to the Cowboys on some? I mean, they gave up a 4th-round pick, so you would think he's not going to be the 3rd string quarterback. I will hope that he would at least be the 2nd string quarterback. And Miles mentioned like Cooper Rush had a really good year last season, so kind of bamboozled on the Cowboys end, not so much on the 49ers. And I mean, they had to do something with him. And I thought they were going to end up having to cut him because, like I said, I thought his value was diminished after he lost that backup QB spot. But the fact that they still got 4th out of the deal, That's something.
Yeah, I think if they didn't announce he lost a backup QB job, that they could have got like a second.
I I don't think they had to say they had to say anything. Like it was just they could have just said we're keeping 3 quarterbacks and address that come week 1. Like you didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to release any depth charts or anything like that right now. Like it's just roster cuts. Like yeah, you give up 3 first round. It's gonna be a stain like on Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch because I'm pretty sure now. Look, I'm pretty sure John Lynch up to this point has had a pretty like good record as far as drafting when it came to the 49ers. I would assume that Kyle Shanahan probably told John Lynch, I want Trey Lance because I can just develop him.
Yeah.
He felt like I'm the quarterback whisperer. I turned RG3 into a good quarterback. Like I can do this. I can do this. Like, all right, we'll do it. And now you think about it with where the 49ers have been drafting. I mean, towards the end of the first round, but a lot of those guys that you're drafting in the top of the second round, end of the first round, could be contributors today on that team.
Oh man, it got him again.
Got him. I'll pick up and he'll jump.
A guy that you traded for 4th round. I hope that
you back. You back.
Okay. So yeah, I'm hoping Trey Lance. Look again. This was a different Jerry Jones move for sure. Didn't tell Mike McCarthy anything. Like you got Cooper Rush there already, so I'm like, I don't know where you can't even. Dak's not even right. Like you can't even get Dak developed the right way. Like
unless they kind of getting a little low on Dak. I mean, maybe
it could be Dak maybe on borrowed time this year.
Might be like a 2-year move, 2-year move.
The one thing I think I saw somewhere is that their contracts line up together. So maybe like, something happens, Dak doesn't play well, and then Trey Lance comes in and plays well. That, they can move on from Dak, go right into a Trey Lance contract. And they got more leverage because Trey Lance would only have, 2 years with them before they have to make a decision on him. So,
and they can be as well at that point.
Yeah.
Right, they don't owe him a 5th-year deal or does that carry over if they trade him for his rookie contract, right? So if he were to get his 5 years, I don't know if that is based on the team that drafts you. I'm not sure what the rules are.
We had to check that out.
I had to check that out. Yeah, if you're traded within that, you're especially if you're drafted in the first round. Mm-hmm. If you're traded, then is that team like responsible? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But yeah, I wish no luck to the Cowboys. This is definitely a Cowboys move. This is what teams that don't know what the hell they doing do.
Good riddance.
Whatever. Wear the star proudly, man. Yeah. On the bench.
They're gonna be cool by default just because the NFC is kind of like
it's whatever, right?
They'll be like the 3rd or 4th team just because,
right?
Yeah,
nobody else.
We'll touch on this story real quick. So I don't know if there are reports going around. Obviously, the Cardinals traded Isaiah Simmons to the Giants. They traded Colt McCoy, who was their backup quarterback. They traded him away. He's gone, or released him, whatever. He's gone. And then there were stories rumors going around that they were secretly telling people that Kyler Murray was not playing this year. Apparently. Now, Kyler Murray just signed a massive contract. If they're tanking, if the rumors are true and they're really going after Caleb Williams. Now, look, this isn't the first time. Remember, they drafted Jared. Was it not Jared Goff? Was it Jared Goff? No, it was who's the guy they drafted and they traded away like 2 years later?
The Cardinals. Oh man, I can't even think of it.
Yeah, I can't think about. What year was this? This is right before Kyler, right?
Josh Rosen. They drafted Josh Rosen.
Forgot about him.
2 years later, they trade him away. He's gone.
Yeah.
1st round draft pick. Obviously, they changed coaches. Coach didn't want him, so they traded him away. Are we headed to the same it appears like they're tanking. Like, what made them like? Why they traded Isaiah Simmons away for like a low draft pick too? It was like you're just getting rid of people. I didn't understand any of these moves. They traded Colt McCoy away, who was he's a good backup quarterback. He could have at least win you 4 or 5 games this season. It appears. I know they've been coming out saying that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. I'm like, it appears that's exactly what y'all doing.
Yeah,
y'all have come to terms with the Kyler Murray situation. I'm like, yeah, we don't really like this, and we want out now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like ever since he inked that deal, it's been bad ever since. Like, the thing with the film, the requirement to watch a certain amount of hours of film and all that in his contract, and he had to undo it. It was just bad. It was just bad energy from the time he inked that deal onward, and the fact that he has his injury to kind of lean on is like, now at this point, he might as well milk it. I mean, he's paid already, so it's like,
money.
I mean, what am I rushing back for? I know what my roster looks like. I know the roster. I'm here. I'm in the building. Like, I'm not rushing back to that. So maybe they're just on some because I'm thinking they're probably gonna have the worst record in the league this year. And if Kyler Murray was playing, I don't think it would be that much better than that. I mean, that'll add a few games on that they might win, but I'm looking at their team. I don't really see anything that promising. I mean, the best thing they probably got going for them is their running back. James Conner's decent, but he ain't about to win you no games. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough situation. Their best bet might be to trade him, but like you said, it's not a good look based on the history of the road they've been going down. Like, it's just fluke after fluke after fluke. And the Kyler Murray thing is just like, it's so night and day from when he signed that deal to where we are today. It's like the fall off is crazy, and he's just injured, but he got full leverage now, so it's like, F y'all.
Yeah.
And he don't like the coach anyway.
Right.
Nope. Yeah, it's really crazy. There's like no good news coming out of Arizona because they just got hit with something else. But like, Kyler Murray's done. I mean, when they put him on the PUP, I knew that was something. But when the rumors started coming out that he could be out for the year, it made sense. I mean, well, he got hurt week 14 last year. This is a guy that they question his ethic. Like, and if a guy doesn't have a great work ethic, rehab is going to be a mug. Like, it's going to be longer. Like, the guys that come back quick are the guys that have great work ethics. So I can see him being out for the year. I mean, him coming back week 8 was a possibility, I guess, before. But honestly, if you're not doing good in week 8, you might as well sit him for the year.
Yeah, just so.
It also may be an indictment of how they see their team overall. Like, if they don't think that this team is competing in the playoffs or as a contender, why bring them back? I mean, you already gave them $135 million. You might as well wait and try again next year. So,
yeah, it's a bad situation in Arizona, but guys like Hollywood Brown, wanted to go elsewhere. They didn't want to be here anymore. They want to stick around. They want to wait and find out. Well, you found out in Arizona. Yeah. I hope you're happy, Marquise. I hope you're happy.
You have to run and found out.
Yeah, they have to run and found out. Now you're gonna be getting the ball thrown by some XFL player.
Grass ain't always green on the other side, man.
Good job, man. Good job. Zay Flowers. We're gonna after this. See, after a game like Trey, like you say, after Travis, after game 1, we're gonna be like Marquise who?
Man, Marquise messed up, man. He could have been our 5th receiver, dog.
Yeah.
I want to see. Good.
You could have had Mark. You could have had Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, Odell, and Zay Flowers. Man,
look,
Hollywood, you messed that up.
Week 8, I want to see Marlon locking up on Hollywood and just destroying.
We play the Cardinals. We play the Cardinals this year.
Week 8.
Week 8. Well,
week 8.
Well, I hope Hollywood is healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of them seasons where if I get hurt, I might have to just milk
No,
that.
this is when you see a team that's bad like this, and you're playing a team like that. If you get, it's like you tell people like, "Yo, dog, if I get hurt in week 7, I'm out." you give yourself a time frame like anything after week 7, I'm out, man. Anything after week 7, I'm just out.
And I don't hate Hollywood, but damn, like they flew that man out there on a PJ draft night, like
He did.
that's crazy.
He was tweeting out like, yeah, he was like, yeah, man, they treat me good out here. Like, all right, man.
That's
crazy.
That's wild.
Before we get to the Ravens final 53 real quick, obviously there's also other news going around. Nick Bosa not getting an extension done with San Francisco and apparently is very irate. There's been rumors going around that the 49ers are getting a trade package deal together with some AFC team that they have not mentioned. They came out today and said we are not intending to trade Nick Bosa at all. Obviously, this is all every team says that until a trade is done. And then we find how many times we've heard this statement, right? We're not intending trading them, and then a week later, so and so got traded. Like, like if the deal is right and the money's right, they're like, we'll trade him. Look, here's the issue with good teams, right? A lot of times when you develop players, you draft well, you always assume like we don't have to pay you because we can always find another replacement for you. Yeah, you're Nick Bosa. You know, defensive player of the year. You know, at one point, we don't have to pay you. We can find another one. We got one of the best GMs in football, best scout teams in football. We can find another one. There's always another pass rusher, edge rusher. You're not the greatest pass rusher of all time. You're not Lawrence Taylor out here. You're not even your brother. Not even TJ. Not that brother. The other Joey Bosa.
The other brother.
Just Joey Bosa. I'm talking about TJ Watt, the other Watt, Judge Watt.
Yeah.
But you're not even like necessarily as you might be a little bit better than Joey. They've had their good years, but they're the issue with good teams is that you get a little arrogant in thinking that we draft well and we generally sign or develop players well. We think we can do it again, right? You can just let you walk. We don't have to pay you your money and go find somebody else. The 49ers are also, they're paying George Kittle. They got Debo. They got Fred Warner. They got a few pieces that they're getting to take care of outside of Nick Bosa. And I'm pretty sure Nick Bosa is looking around like if I was defensive player of the year at some point, I'm just as good on the same level as TJ Watt. I'm expecting the same kind of compensation, and especially if he's resetting the market, a little bit more money. So I'm pretty sure the 49ers and them are at an impasse right now, Then the good thing for the 49ers, they don't have to really pay quarterback right now because Brock Purdy was a 7th-round draft pick. So I don't have to worry about definitely picking up his 5th-year option. But they still have other issues they got to take care of, salary cap-wise. And if he is on his way out, being traded, I'll put this out there. Do you think the Ravens, knowing the situation we got to pass with right now, could potentially trade for Nick Bosa? Again, he would bring a huge cap hit if we were to bring him in here. But would you be open to that reality?
I'd be open. I'd be open to that reality for sure. I mean, and only because the way this year is going, we're pretty much in a win now mode anyway. We're almost in a win this year now mode anyway. Just because when we talked earlier about how many free agents we're going to have next season, like a lot of our star players, a lot of our our whole offseason outside of like obviously who we drafted, like people on 1-year deals. We got a lot of star players on 1-year deals. So I mean, the Ravens has already sent the message of what they're actually trying to accomplish this season. And that's why everyone's kind of so excited about this team, because it seems like they have that all-in mentality right now just based on how they're paying guys. All that money they gave Odell just for 1 season so that he can change his mind next year and decide to go somewhere else, that's not by accident. So, yeah, I mean, if we with this all-in mentality and, we obviously got Lamar locked down for the next 5 years, but so that I guess in their mind they're like, either way we're gonna have a shot, regardless of how our team looks. But it's clear that they've sent a message that we're all in this season. So if we can make a trade and work out some compensation for him to get over here, we still got a full season in front of us. Get the trade done before week 1 or by week 1, week 2, whatever. I'm all for that. Like, you kidding me? Like, this is one of those. Our D line, like, I mean, it didn't get talked about as bad as our wide receiver group last season. but our D line is in just as much of distress as our receiver room was last season. Like it's no worse. And EDC did a hell of a job this year changing, what that room looks like. But he, it'll kind of be like, it's not going to be easy to get done, obviously, but you kind of got to keep that same energy on the D line because they haven't showed us a thing. And in preseason, they didn't show us any different either. Even though we're just kind of waiting for obviously Ojabo to come along, and we signed Clowney, but Clowney is really just a band-aid. He's not somebody that we signed that's going to kick a hole through the wall and he's going to get to it and make up for all the sacks that we lost and the players that we lost to free agency and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say all in. I'm completely open for it. If we sign a guy like Nick Bosa, like we had all these concerns about, I wouldn't even be concerned about the DBs anymore at this point. We'll be pretty much good to go with 1-star DB and Marlon, and then whoever else at our 2 and 3. And if we had Nick Bosa on third downs, like I'll feel good about that. So how feasible is it to get done? That's another question. I'm glad I'm not the GM, but I'm sure he can get it done. I mean, with all the money they moved around with Lamar getting locked up and the 1-year deals, he can make that happen at least for the season. The question would be, will Nick Bosa be willing to go somewhere to finish out his whatever this year's on? He's gonna most likely want compensation too, or some type of promise that he'll be extended. So, if we can do that, cool. But at the same time, it might work to the expense of somebody. But we don't know how he would have to get that deal done. But being open to it, 100% open to it.
Yeah. Man, if it was a possibility, man, I'm packaging 2 first-rounders and Odafe and calling it a day because this is that level of player. I mean, what, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, 3 of his first 4 seasons.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Like this guy is he's that guy. My thing is, I don't think it's gonna happen.
No.
I feel like
Too much money.
It's a Lamar situation. It's a Lamar situation where, this is the posturing to get that deal done before it's too late. So I think this is a posture. These leak reports, I don't even think they're true that they're going to trade him. I think there's going to be a deal done next week, and he's going to reset the market. But if he was by chance available, you got to throw the kitchen sink at this. I mean, that guy, if we thought Roquan changed the complexion of our defense, Nick Bosa, racist and all, I don't know how you'll fit in our locker room.
It's been in Baltimore in general, right?
Yeah.
It's a little too brown over here.
Yeah.
Too brown.
Right, Travis. I don't know how you fit in the locker room, but hey, when them W's is rolling in,
hey, look, it don't matter when that check clear and them you don't care, right?
They're gonna have Nick Bosa Park High strutting. That's what they're going.
Right. They've had a lot of racists play in the NFL.
He's trying to sit his locker next to Lamar for like 2-3 weeks. He'll be out.
He'll be taking photos of Lamar and everything, throwing up signs and whatnot. He'd be like, man, I had a change of heart.
Hey, if it happens, throw the sink at him. But I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, they said that they expect him to have a deal with them done in the next few days. Obviously, again, he's wanting to reset the market, but look, weirder things have happened. We've seen things. We saw what Dumervil. Remember Dumervil several years ago? The facts didn't go through for his contract situation, and he ends up as a Raven. So look, weirder things have happened. So, if that means a 1-year thing where you get Nick Bosa on this team and you just kind of let it ride for 1 year, I'm pretty sure the Ravens wouldn't scoff at it. Whatever, So let's get to this Ravens Final 53. My takeaways real quick. Glad Keith Mitchell made the team. I'm real glad. When I saw Melvin Gordon got waived initially, I immediately said, like, all right. I immediately said, all right, Keith Mitchell made the team. So I'm good with that. I did see Malik Ham made the roster, outside linebacker. I saw he made the team, and I didn't really see him flash a whole bunch during he was get mentioned a couple times during the games. But that probably lets me know that Tyus Bowser's situation is a little more serious than they've let on. That they probably don't expect him to play. He's definitely starting on PUP this year. I still don't know what happened to his leg. Like they still haven't addressed like why he was limping in the training camp. Also Kaya Kelly did not make the roster. Another Ravens cornerback that was drafted that did not make the team. I wanted to mention before I get your guys' take on this roster sheet real quick. After 2017, Marlon Humphrey was the first round draft pick for the Ravens. In 2018, they drafted Anthony Everett in the 4th round, no longer on the team. Only cornerback they drafted in that draft. As of 2019, they drafted Iman Marshall. I don't know whatever happened to that dude. He's not on the team anymore. Only quarterback drafted 4th round. 2020, they drafted no one. Not one cornerback was drafted for the Ravens in 2020. 2021, Brandon Stevens, who now wants to play safety at this point. Sean Wade got traded before the season even started. And then last year in 2022, they draft Pepe Williams and Jalen Armour Davis, who are still technically on the team. But then this year, they draft the only cornerback they drafted, Kaya Kelly, and is now a Seahawk.
On the 53.
And Jalen Armour Davis also a 4th round pick, and Pepe Williams was a 4th round pick, along with Kaibu Kelly, who was a 6th round pick, 7th round pick this year.
Mm.
They haven't drafted a 1st round draft cornerback since 2017. If there's a blind spot with EDC right now, it's secondary.
Yeah.
He's had to literally rely on 4th round and lower draft picks. You had to go sign Marcus Williams as a free agent to play free safety for you because you let go of Deshaun Elliott. You let him walk. He's gone. So you had to go sign Marcus Williams. But outside of Marlon Humphrey, no one above the 3rd round has been drafted by the Ravens since 2017. And 3 of those guys aren't even on 3 or 4 of those guys aren't even on the team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lack of investment because now I'm thinking about Chuck Clark was a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
In that secondary. Geno Stone is a 6th or 7th.
We've now seen over the last few years, at least in the secondary portion of the Ravens draft, they don't really value secondary players. But the bad part about it is they've been drafting. They got a Jabo in the 3rd round last year. They drafted Adafe Owe the year before that in the 1st round. What we've seen from a Jabo this preseason hasn't really excited us too much. And then what we've seen from Adafe the last 2 seasons, we're like, I could understand if you guys are going to whiff on cornerbacks and stuff like that in the draft, late round picks, but you're going to have to hit on your edge rushers if that's going to be the case. We're going to need to see Adafe and Ajabo be like, double-digit sacks from these guys every year if you're drafting them where you're drafting them. Yeah. And you're not drafting 1st round cornerbacks, like your first picks. That's my take on the 53 man. It wasn't too much unexpected stuff. So I'm happy Keaton was there, but them cutting another cornerback they drafted, cutting him, and I don't think he's making the practice squad either because apparently they just said Melvin Gordon's back on the practice squad, and somebody else too.
I just saw that.
They just said Melvin Gordon and somebody else made the practice squad. I can't remember who else it was.
Yeah, I didn't see too many surprises on the list. Couple of things that probably stood out was I was surprised that Ben Cleveland made it, but I guess that makes sense. After it all panned out, he actually besides that one Jalen Carter play, which people were kind of digging in his. For getting beat so bad in that first preseason game, he's played okay, but I'm still shocked that he's just kind of like, he's just somehow existing. He's somehow surviving on his team. But that I was actually surprised he made it. Keaton Mitchell, obviously, there was no surprise there. We kind of knew what that was. There's no way they was going to let him go to another team. As far as the DBs, they cut a lot of DBs that came through. A lot of those DBs, I think, were just there because we were kind of scared with the injuries.
Carter Houston that they just signed a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, Houston Carson or something like that.
Yeah,
he got released. I think he was signed more so as insurance and can't body too. Once we started getting positive feedback on Jalen Armour Davis and Marlon's timetable and Brock coming back as well, I think they just kind of just started dumping those guys off. So I'm not really surprised at what happened there. It was really no big surprise. I was surprised at first about the quarterback situation. I think they released both Josh Johnson and Anthony Carter. I think they kept Anthony Carter on the practice squad, if I'm not mistaken.
Anthony Brown got brought back. He was the other one. Anthony Brown got brought back on the practice squad.
Okay.
I don't think Josh Johnson.
So maybe they might still keep him based on that new rule or whatever the case may be, where they can kind of activate a
emergency quarterback. Yeah,
depending on the situation. I thought Seymour would make it.
I did too.
I thought he played fairly well in comparison to the other guys that were out there. He made a couple of plays that I was kind of excited about, but like I said, we'll see kind of what happens with that. And Caillou Kelly, I wasn't surprised that he was cut based on what I've seen, but I was surprised that he was cut based on him being a Ravens draft pick. I wasn't expecting him to cut Caillou Kelly. So that makes sense. And the wide receiver room completely makes sense for the most part. So yeah, I mean, like I said, no real surprises. Patrick Ricard is still on the team. So if anybody
the fact they kept a roster spot for that, man.
If anybody was wondering, Patrick Pat is still around.
Ben Mason and Patrick Ricard have roster spots.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
He was catching passes in preseason too.
You could have kept Kai. You could have kept Kelly, and even you could have kept Kayvon Seymour.
Yeah,
on the practice squad.
Yeah,
you kept two fullbacks.
Did we keep Vokalek?
Vokalek made the practice squad.
Yeah, he's on the practice squad.
Yeah. I was surprised by it because he flashed.
I'm glad we kept him. Just because I kind of it's tough watching him because you want to keep certain guys to yourself. It's like last year, Shamar Bridges. I didn't want him to get taken. My biggest fear is that a guy's in our training camp and then we let him go and then they go and they show off and now they're an all-star and then we just blew it. And we got to watch a team with him for the next 4 years, play for the cheap, and he's the best player on the field. That's my biggest fear. So I'd be wanting to hoard guys. Pause on the roster because you just never know when you're gonna need them. And with our injury history, it's damn, you never know. I can't wait till Keaton Mitchell gets activated off of IR or whatever. They're probably gonna put him on IR. He has a sprained shoulder and he's the fourth back, so I can't see him playing the first few games. But I guess they're going to kind of play it by ear. But yeah, no real surprises for the final 53. I'm sure they're still going to be bouncing things back and forth, moving things around on the roster in the meantime, even though it's done now. But yeah, I'm cool with it from what I saw so far.
Yeah, I was only surprised by Kelly, him getting cut because I thought him being a 5th round pick, they would know he would get snatched up just because of him being a recent draft pick. Also shocked he got picked up because did y'all see the footage? But I wanna make everybody feel better. Jacinta Anderson said once the Ravens do all their IR designations like Pepe Williams and some other people. Josh Johnson is coming back to the 53. Kayvon Seymour is coming to the 53, and Brent Urban's coming to the 53.
Yeah.
Okay. So Brent
Urban's a staple here at this point.
Yeah, so those guys will be back. So
He's a Raven. He's a Raven and not a Raven at the same time.
I like that. I like that Seymour's coming back. I like that.
Yeah, he played well. He played well in the preseason. I think that. Look, I think they understand the cornerback situation there in Baltimore right now, and they're going to need him at some point.
Yeah. And also, Arthur Millette, I meant to bring that up too, but I am glad that he is on the 53. I was
Who
surprised
is this man?
He played with the Steelers, bro. He used to go crazy. Like he wasn't like he used to give us nightmares. Like he made a lot of good plays in that rivalry situation. That's why the Ravens know him so well and brought him in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't really have no work in preseason at all. I think due to injury, but I think he's fully recovered now.
Yeah.
Arthur Millette, you said his name?
I thought they would have let him go because him not getting much burn and much time, but
they must
already know. Yeah.
Okay, Arthur Millette. I don't know who this man is.
Yeah, he was their nickel corner in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Oh, he's that guy. Okay. The Steelers game circled on his calendar.
He was on the. You go back and watch the presser from today. He was up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just see. Yeah, I think 1 hour ago they showed they put it up there.
Yeah, he did the presser today. Yep.
Okay. So he was at practice. So Rock is back. You know, the guys they did have hurt. Jalen Davis is back. So the only one that's obviously an issue is Marlon Humphrey at this point. But you look at like what's first. Let's say like the first couple or 3 weeks for the Ravens. So I mean, they got the Texans week 1.
Texans, Bengals.
Was it Texans, Bengals, Colts? Is that it? Texans, Bengals, Colts. So the first 3 weeks, you're playing a rookie quarterback, 2 rookie quarterbacks in Anthony Richardson with the Colts and then CJ Stroud with the Texans. And then a Bengals team with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow just came back to practice this week off of his injury, his situation. So all things considered, the Marlon injury, if he's healthy and on track, he'll come back right when they need him for that Steelers game, the Brown Steelers game, right when they need him. Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah.
So and Keaton Mitchell, if he's on the pup, he'll be out for. So he can come right in for that Steelers. I would definitely use Keaton Mitchell in that Steelers game. Week 5. Yeah. Week 5, I'm definitely going to keep Mitchell in that Steelers game.
It's just,
they don't know where to hit him.
It's just tough. It's like, damn, like who doesn't play? Because they're not going to bring 4 running backs. And just
take Gus out. You can take Gus out.
Yeah, Gus isn't. I don't think Gus is going to be a great fit. I think we're going to see him struggle.
Yeah, based on the
fact that they had Gus running in preseason let me know it was like, this isn't because Gus before wasn't. Yeah. Him and JK weren't running in preseason like that. They weren't doing that. Yeah. The fact that he was running in preseason, I was like, this sounds a little like they're just trying to find like if they have maybe a goal-to-goal situation or I need a guy to get me 2 yards, sure, we can pick Gus in, but I think
Monk is definitely going to prioritize speed for sure.
Yeah, he's going to be lining up guys that can line up on the outside, like Keaton, JK. Justice Hill that he can line up as a wide receiver, run routes. Like Gus doesn't really do that. So I still think he will be utilized, but not as much as he did the last 3 years under Greg Roman. Which is why I think the Ravens, which makes more sense of his contract situation, why the Ravens were willing to let him kind of go on free agency. And then they brought him back on that restricted tender. No one else really signed a tender to go get him. Which let me know I think the Ravens probably also have a devaluing now that Monken is there, maybe a diminishing value on Gus Edwards a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that lets me know what that is. But so yeah, next week we'll discuss, we'll go over. I think we'll do our division. We'll do division winners. We have our picks for division winners and what we maybe Super Bowl picks we have next week. We got Colorado against TCU this weekend. Deion Sanders primetime debut on a big noon. Was it kickoff on Fox or whatever? Big noon kickoff on Fox. So,
they on Fox? Okay.
They're on Fox, yeah. They've been showing commercials for the last 2 weeks. It's prime, man. You got it's prime.
Yeah,
you
gotta get him.
got to.
I'm going to take my fire stick with me to DR.
He's a show all by himself. He's wearing the cowboy hat and everything. He's wearing the cowboy hat and everything. He's all out there. So, yeah, you have to watch Cypher Coach Prime out there. They're playing a highly ranked TCU. So it'll be very interesting to see what this Colorado team can do with Prime as the coach. So I'm pulling for him out there. Trey, be safe in DR. Corey was saying, I'll put this up here real quick. Corey said Troy living like Clay out in the boat. Yeah, you're living out like
on a boat.
Find a boat somewhere. It's one thing we've seen from Trey the last year. This whole year is he's found a boat somewhere.
Find
an all-white outfit or a boat somewhere.
I'm doing 15 hours at least in a pool every day.
Oh wow!
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you.
I'm just chilling. This is about relaxation this time. I don't want to be doing too much of nothing.
I don't blame you. And you going at the right time, missing all these hurricanes, man. You missing all these hurricanes right now.
Close call.
Yeah, so the prayers up for the people out in Florida, Panhandle right now, because I know they going through it, flood and stuff. So just be safe out there, everybody. And we got like another season doesn't really start until next week? 10 days. Next Thursday. We got college football to hold us over until professional football gets started. So let's get started.
Y'all enjoy y'all Labor Day weekend, man.
Yeah, enjoy. Yeah, we're going to cook out in Philly. So
nice.
That should be fun. Yeah,
nice.
Cook out in Philly.
Okay.
With some friends. So
can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Everybody have a good time and trade. Don't get snatched up while you're out in DR. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
I'm gonna share my location with y'all.
Yeah, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Make sure you come back.
That's the plan. That's always.
Yeah, you got things to do, man. You got things to do. You got responsibility. You got things to take care of.
I do got a lot of stuff on the horizon. Yeah, can't afford to go missing now.
Yeah. Right. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.